My name is Walter Harris. I'm 78 years old. And the last time someone said my full name with respect, I think Reagan was still in office. I used to be someone. No, I was someone. A high school teacher for 42 years. History. Mr. Harris. Students loved me, at least most of them. I'd get handshakes in supermarkets, thank you letters years later, invites to weddings. You changed my life, they'd say. I used to believe that mattered. I also raised 3 children. With my wife, Martha, who passed 5 years ago this spring. Cancer. Quiet, cruel kind. Took her slowly, first her strength, then her voice, then everything else. I was there every day. Bathed her. Read to her. Sang off-key when she couldn't sleep. Her last words to me were, "They need you now more than ever. Don't let go." She meant the kids. But what she didn't know, what I didn't know, was that they had already let go of me. It started slowly. A few missed calls. Rescheduled dinners. Birthdays forgotten. I understood at first. Life is busy, jobs, kids, responsibilities. I told myself that. Over and over. Made excuses for them. Then came the hospital. It was winter. My legs gave out one morning when I tried to get up from bed. A sharp pain, then nothing. I crawled, literally crawled, to the phone and called Rebecca, my oldest. Nurse practitioner. Kind-hearted girl, used to be. She sounded annoyed. Said she'd see what she could do. 37 minutes later, Zach, my youngest, showed up. Didn't even come inside. Just honked. Took me to the ER like I was a burden he couldn't wait to drop. No small talk. Not even a, "How are you holding up, Dad?" They admitted me for 3 days. Turns out it was a mini stroke. Nothing fatal. But when it was time to go home, no one answered their phones. Not one of them. A nurse named Sandra came in, gently holding my release papers. "Mr. Harris, is someone coming to pick you up?" I stared at her for a long time. I wanted to lie. I wanted to say yes, they're just late. Traffic, you know how it is. But I couldn't. I just said, no. No, I don't think they are. She tried to smile, but her eyes told the truth. Pity. That soft kind that feels like poison. They transferred me to a short-term rehab facility. Ridgecrest Care Center. Smelled like boiled peas and bleach. The kind of place where time doesn't just slow, it forgets to move at all. 3 days turned into 3 weeks. Then paperwork showed up. "Just until we can figure things out," said Rebecca, through voicemail. They left me there like old furniture nobody wanted to throw away but didn't want in their home, either. You know what's funny? I taught entire generations about betrayal. The fall of empires. Brutus and Caesar. Benedict Arnold. Cold wars and broken treaties. But no one ever told me betrayal sounded like silence. Like no phone calls. No visits. No Christmas cards. Not even a damn birthday text. I sit now in room 214. My roommate, Frank, has Alzheimer's. Calls me Cliff most days. Yesterday, he peed in my shoes. I didn't even get angry. Just cleaned them, quietly. Because getting angry feels like shouting at a wall. There's a bulletin board here. With little Polaroids. Family visits. Smiling grandkids. Balloons. Posters. Every time a new photo goes up, I feel something twist inside me. A knot of shame and grief and something worse, acceptance. I used to have a table that sat 6. Sunday dinners. Loud laughs. Martha's chicken pot pie. We'd talk about everything from politics to pudding. Now. I sip tea from a paper cup. Alone. No chair pulled up beside me. No forks clinking. No voices calling, "Dad, tell that story again about the field trip." I tell those stories to myself now. Quietly. At night. And last week, something shifted. Not loudly. Not like thunder. Just a quiet realization. They think I'm gone already. Maybe not physically. But the version of me they respected, loved, needed. That version is dead to them. I am no longer Dad. I'm a line item on a healthcare bill. A problem solved with silence and signatures. But I am still Walter Harris. I remember who I am. And I remember everything. Especially what they've forgotten. The mirror in this place is warped. It makes my face look longer, like I'm slipping downward. But I stare into it every morning anyway. At first, I avoided my reflection. Not because of the wrinkles or the liver spots, those came slowly, like fall leaves, expected and earned. No, what scared me was the look in my own eyes. That lost, hollow expression. Like I was waiting for something, someone, to come get me. But no one came. Every morning starts the same. Nurses shuffle in, lights too bright. Plastic trays with eggs that bounce, toast that could cut glass. Frank mumbling in the corner, talking to someone named Eliza, who hasn't existed in decades. His daughter. A wife. I don't ask. We all have ghosts here. I used to think about walking out. Just leaving. But where would I go? Rebecca said my house was too much liability. I overheard her on the phone with someone. He's not safe there alone. Better for everyone this way. Better. For everyone. That word echoed in my chest for days. Better for them. Not for me. I called my lawyer. The number was disconnected. He died last year, apparently. Stroke. I remember thinking, at least he didn't die forgotten. Frank got a visitor last Thursday. A woman, maybe 50s, kind face. She brought him a scarf. Called him Dad and kissed his cheek like he was still there, somewhere beneath the fog. And for a moment, I swear, Frank's eyes cleared. He smiled. I watched from the hallway. My heart clenched in a way I hadn't felt since Martha passed. Like something inside me twisted. Not jealousy. Not quite. More like longing. Hunger. For a voice that remembered my birthday. A touch that said, "You still matter." Later that night, I went through my things. I still have the old leather briefcase Martha gave me when I retired. Inside, yellowed lesson plans, a fountain pen, a stack of letters from former students. I hadn't looked at them in years. One caught my eye. Tyler Jordan. Class of '92. He wrote. "Mr. Harris, you saved me. I was going to drop out, but you made me believe I wasn't dumb. You saw something in me no one else did. I work in D.C. now. 2 kids. I still remember the Gettysburg lesson. You made history feel like poetry. Thank you. I read it 3 times. Then I cried. Not the loud, dramatic sobs people write about. No. This was quieter. Like a pipe leaking beneath the floorboards. The kind of crying that sounds more like breathing. I don't cry easily. But something inside me cracked open that night. Not from weakness. From truth. I had value once. Not just to my family, but to the world. I made a difference. I shaped lives. And somehow, in the noise of aging, in the silence of neglect, I forgot. But now I remember. A new nurse started this week. Jasmine. Mid-20s, sharp eyes. Reminds me of a student I once had. She asked what I did before all this. I said, I taught people how to think. How to question things. How to remember. She smiled. Maybe you could teach me. I raised an eyebrow. About history? No, she said. About living. That hit me harder than any betrayal. Later, she brought in her break room copy of The Great Gatsby. Said she never understood it in high school. I asked her to read the last paragraph aloud. So we beat on, boats against the current. She paused. I finished it for her. Borne back ceaselessly into the past. She looked at me, really looked. That's beautiful. No, I corrected her. That's life. That night, something in me changed. No big speeches. No dramatic revelations. Just a slow, rising certainty, like the tide returning. If they weren't going to come for me, then I would come for myself. Not with vengeance. Not with fire. But with presence. With truth. With memory. They think I am fading. I am not. I am becoming. There's something no one tells you about getting old. It's not the pain in your knees. Or the medicine schedules. Or forgetting where you left your glasses, it's the feeling that you've become invisible. People talk around you. Not to you. They raise their voices like you're deaf, or speak slower like you're stupid. They assume you don't notice things. That time has dulled your perception. But time hasn't dulled anything. It's sharpened it. It's only now that I see the masks they wear. Even my own children. Zach came by last week. First time in months. I'd like to say it was to check on me, but no, he needed a signature. Some property detail. Apparently, Martha's name was still on the deed to the summer cabin. The one they never invite me to. He walked in like it hurt him to breathe the same air. "Hey, Dad," he said, standing by the door. "Zachary." I didn't get up. I didn't smile. I just looked at him. He shifted, awkward. "You look good." A lie. My skin hung loose. My hands shook. But my eyes. Still sharp. Still Walter Harris. He pulled out the papers. "Just some forms. Rebecca said it'd be easier to." "I know what they are," I cut in. I read. Silence. He looked uncomfortable, like a boy caught cheating on a test. I watched him squirm. Not out of cruelty, but because I wanted him to feel something. Anything. He tried to joke. "You're still the same. Always watching." "Yes," I said quietly. "And remembering." His pen scratched the paper. He didn't ask how I was. Didn't mention my birthday had passed. Just folded the documents, shoved them in his briefcase, and stood. "Well. Thanks, Dad." I nodded once. He reached for the door, then paused. "You know, it's not that we don't care. We just have lives. And I don't." That stopped him. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't plead. I just asked the question, like a teacher, waiting for an answer. But he had none. Only a nervous half-smile and a quick, "I'll let you rest." And just like that, he was gone. That night, I took out a notebook. Blank pages. Clean, white, untouched. I wrote at the top. Things I remember. I started with names. Students. Classes. The look on Martha's face when she first wore the blue dress. The smell of her hair. Tyler's letter. Jasmine's eyes as she read Gatsby. Then, I made a second list. Things they forgot. My birthday. The way I fixed the porch swing with one hand in a cast. How I stayed all night with Zach when he had pneumonia at 8. How I paid Rebecca's first semester with my retirement fund. How I never once raised a hand at them, even when they deserved it. How I stood in the back row at their graduations and cried quietly. They forgot those things. But I didn't. Jasmine brought me coffee the next morning. Real coffee. Not the decaf swill they hand out here. She smiled as I took the first sip and made that face, the one that says this is what being alive feels like. "Any plans today, Mr. Harris?" I looked at the clock. "Yes. At 10 o'clock I'm giving a lecture." Her eyebrows lifted. "A what?" "A lecture," I said. "History. Room 214. Attendance optional." She laughed. But she came. So did 3 other nurses. Even Frank sat near the window, his head tilted like a curious dog. I stood. Cleared my throat. And began. History isn't just in books. It lives in us. The problem is, people forget that old things still matter. That old people still matter. But every empire that's ever existed was built, and destroyed, by someone who once sat exactly where I sit now. They listened. Really listened. I spoke for 20 minutes. My hands stopped shaking. My voice got stronger. My chest filled. When I finished, Jasmine whispered, "That was incredible." "It was just the truth," I replied. But inside, I felt something return. Not pride. Not yet. But presence. A day later, a young man showed up at the facility. Tall, black coat, briefcase. I assumed he was a lawyer or maybe a relative. He knocked softly. "Mr. Harris?" "Yes." He smiled. "I'm Tyler. Tyler Jordan. You taught me in '92. Time stopped. I stood, slowly, heart thudding. "You're the one who wrote the letter." He nodded. "I was in town for business. I heard about this place. Thought I'd stop by." I wanted to hug him. But I just said, "You remembered." "I never forgot," he said. Tyler stayed for an hour. He brought real coffee, same as Jasmine, and a blueberry muffin I couldn't finish, not because I wasn't hungry, but because I couldn't stop watching his hands. Big hands. Confident. The hands of a man who'd lived a life. Who'd built something. I taught those hands how to write an essay. "You still have that fire," he said. Same stare. "You used to stop the whole room with it." "I used to stop teenagers from throwing spitballs," I said. A harder task. He laughed, and I did too. For real. It had been a long time since laughter didn't feel like betrayal. He told me about his kids. His wife. His job, education policy in D.C. He'd worked under 3 administrations. And at the end, he said something I'll never forget. "You were the first man to believe I could be more than where I came from." That sentence hit like thunder. Not because I needed praise, but because, for a moment, I saw the younger me. In him. In his words. I saw what hadn't been forgotten. What couldn't be. After he left, I stared at the wall for a long time. Not blankly. Not bitterly. But quietly. There's a difference. Rebecca called 3 days later. Voicemail. "Hey, Dad. Just checking in. Zach said you were doing okay. Let us know if you need anything. Maybe we could do a family Zoom call this month. Okay. Love you." I didn't call back. Not out of spite. But because I had nothing to say, not in that format. I wasn't going to sit on a screen, a thumbnail in the corner, nodding while they pretended to care. Not anymore. Instead, I started writing again. Jasmine helped me set up an old laptop. I called it The Last Lesson. A series of essays. Stories. Reflections. Not for sympathy. Not for pity. For truth. The first one was called "I Am Not a Ghost." It started like this. "They say old people disappear. That's not true. We're still here, you just stopped looking." A week later, Jasmine printed the essay and pinned it on the break room board. By the next day, 3 nurses asked for copies. Then the administrator asked if I'd speak at the staff meeting. I said yes. Room 204 was full that Friday. Not with students, with caregivers. Interns. Janitors. People whose hands touch forgotten souls every day. I stood in front of them, no microphone. I didn't need one. "I'm not here to ask for anything," I said. "I'm here to remind you that who we were doesn't disappear when we get old. We carry it with us. Every room, every silence, every ignored birthday." They sat still. No one touched their phones. I told them about Martha. About teaching. About my children, without names. I didn't need to shame them. My dignity was the mirror they didn't want to look into. I ended with this. You want to change the world? Start by remembering the people you've already forgotten. That night, something happened. Rebecca called again. I didn't pick up. She left another voicemail. This time, her voice cracked. Dad. I read something Jasmine posted online. Your essay. I didn't know you felt that way. I'm sorry. I don't have an excuse. I miss you. I still didn't call her back. Instead, I wrote my second essay. Love without memory. They think silence is weakness. They think the absence of anger is surrender. But I've learned something in this place: the most powerful form of revenge is being everything they said you weren't. Present. Whole. Strong. Tyler sent me a framed photo of his family. It sits on the edge of my window now. Beside it, my own photo, younger me, in front of a chalkboard. Tie crooked. Eyes fierce. Below it, a quote I wrote. You can forget a man's name, but you cannot erase the seeds he planted. They haven't visited yet. Not Rebecca. Not Zach. Not even Evan, my middle one, the quiet son, the one who used to watch me shave, mimicking each stroke with a toothbrush. But I'm not waiting anymore. I've stopped measuring my value by their presence. I've stopped begging to be remembered. Now I'm teaching again. And this lesson, the last one, is not for them. It's for me. The thing about dignity is, you don't have to raise your voice to have it. You don't have to win arguments, or be invited back to the dinner table, or even be forgiven. You just have to remember who you are, and refuse to let the world unwrite it. Last Tuesday, I watched the sun rise through the plastic blinds of room 214. Orange bled into soft pinks. For a second, the hallway disappeared, and I felt like I was home again. Martha used to wake me just before dawn. Not to say anything, just to lie beside me and listen to the world wake up. I whispered to the light, I miss you, darling. But I'm okay now. And for the first time in years, I meant it. They finally came. All three of them. Rebecca, Evan, and Zach. No calls. No warning. Just showed up one afternoon like they'd remembered I existed. They brought flowers. I laughed. The same brand Martha used to plant in the backyard, as if memory could be bribed. Rebecca spoke first. Dad, can we talk? I nodded. No welcome hug. No bitterness either. Just space. The kind that makes people face themselves. Evan looked nervous. He always did. The middle child, always trying to balance the scale between the louder two. Zach had sunglasses on. Indoors. Cowardice, disguised as cool. They sat. Rebecca's voice cracked again. I read all of them. The essays. Silence. I didn't know how much we hurt you. Still, I said nothing. Because sometimes, the greatest power in a conversation is not rescuing people from their guilt. I was overwhelmed, she continued. With the kids. Work. The house. Zach cleared his throat. We didn't abandon you. Not really. Then what do you call it? I asked, calmly. Silence again. Evan finally looked me in the eye. We were selfish, Dad. I was selfish. I thought you'd always be there, quietly surviving in the background. And honestly, part of me didn't want to see you this way. I wanted to remember you as strong. I leaned forward. I am strong. That landed. Rebecca wiped her eyes. Zach stared at the floor. I stood. Slowly. My knees ached, but my spine was straight. I taught you many things, I said. How to read. How to fix a flat tire. How to tell the truth, even when it stings. And now, this, the last lesson: your silence hurt more than death. But I refused to die. They looked at me, ashamed. They should be. But shame is a beginning, not an end. I walked to the window. You don't get to erase me. Not with guilt. Not with flowers. I lived a life. I mattered. I matter. And whether you show up again or not, that truth stands, without your permission. They asked if they could visit again. I said, do what you want. Not cold. Just honest. Because I wasn't waiting for them anymore. I wasn't waiting for anyone. The next week, Jasmine helped me upload the last lesson essays to an online blog. Nothing fancy. Just black text on white background. No ads. No photos. Just words. By the third day, I had over 10,000 views. A week later, someone emailed asking if I'd be open to turning them into a book. Why? I asked Jasmine. She smiled. Because truth has gravity, Mr. Harris. And you've written something too heavy to ignore. That line stuck with me. Truth has gravity. Frank passed away last night. Peacefully. No family came. Just me and a nurse named Raoul, holding his hand as he went. I watched the machines flatline. No beeping. Just stillness. I stayed an hour after. Not because we were close. But because I knew what it meant to leave this world unnoticed. Before I left, I whispered. You mattered, too, Frank. Whether they knew it or not. There's an oak tree behind the facility. Huge thing. Branches like arms reaching up for forgiveness. I sit beneath it now. Jasmine brought me a chair. Tyler called earlier. He said the essays are being passed around education circles. Teachers are crying in break rooms, he laughed. You've become a movement. I didn't need that. But I appreciated it. Because now I understand. Legacy doesn't need permission. It needs courage. And sometimes the loudest lesson you'll ever teach is the one spoken in silence. I woke up this morning to the sound of birds. Not alarms. Not wheelchairs squeaking in the hallway. Birds. Cardinals, maybe. Martha used to say cardinals meant someone from the other side was saying hello. I smiled at the thought. Room 214 felt quiet today. Not empty, still. Like the room was listening. I sat up without help. Jasmine wasn't on shift, Raoul was. He brought coffee anyway, strong and hot. You've got mail, he said with a grin, handing me a thick envelope. The return address read. American Educators Foundation. I opened it slowly, my fingers more careful than curious. Inside, a printed letter. Dear Mr. Walter Harris. We are honored to inform you that your essay series The Last Lesson will be included in the National Education Archives as required reading for new teaching fellows. Your words have moved thousands. But more than that, they've reminded us why teaching matters, and why teachers matter. With deepest respect. The board. I folded the letter. Set it on the table. And I wept. Not from grief. Or regret. But from something I hadn't felt in years, completion. That afternoon, Rebecca visited again. This time, she brought her daughter, my granddaughter, Mia. 11, freckles, shy. She walked in, clutching a little drawing. I made this for you, she said, handing me a picture of a tree with books instead of leaves. My name was carved into the trunk. I stared at it for a long time. And then I reached for her hand. She let me hold it. Rebecca sat quietly beside us. She didn't ask for forgiveness. I didn't offer it. We were beyond all that now. This was something simpler. More honest. A shared silence that didn't hurt. I asked Mia what she wanted to be when she grew up. She thought hard. Maybe a teacher. I smiled. That's the most dangerous job in the world, I said. Why? She asked. Because if you do it right, they'll never forget you. And if they do it wrong, you'll remember them anyway. They visited again the next weekend. Evan brought his son. Zach came alone but didn't leave early. No grand gestures. Just presence. Awkward, maybe, but real. And in time, the visits became regular. And in time, I stopped needing them. Because I'd built something without them. I'd remembered myself without applause, without witnesses. Everything now was a bonus. There's a hallway in Ridgecrest now, a little reading nook they call the Harris Corner. Jasmine made a plaque with one of my lines. We are not fading, we are still teaching. Even in silence. Frank's name is carved underneath mine. We didn't leave this place bitter. We left it unbowed. I don't know how much time I have left. I'm not scared of that anymore. What scares me more is the thought of people never using their voice, never leaving anything behind that says, I was here. I mattered. But I did. And I do. Not because I shouted. But because I waited. And when they didn't come, I stood anyway. That's the last lesson. Not in a classroom. Not in a book. In a chair. Under an oak tree. With one man remembering everything they tried to forget.
Subscribe and like, and send the video to your friends.